Here we are in lesson 3. In our previous lessons, we talked about showing different things on the screen. In this lesson, we're going to start to use a different component of the M5Stack. We're going to be creating music. Okay, that's enough. But what exactly is music? Or sound to be exact? Sound, put simply, is vibration. To demonstrate this, we can use this ruler. If we put a small amount of the ruler hanging over the table and pluck it, we get a high sound. If we put more of the ruler over the edge of the table and pluck it again, we get a low sound. This vibration of the ruler, we call it frequency, and it's measured in hertz. Now we can see how we can use the speaker blocks to program different sounds coming out of the M5Stack. So back in UiFlow, and this time we're going to be focusing on music. Let's first name our project. And then we can start to have a look at the music blocks. The music blocks or speaker blocks can be found in the hardware section. If we look in the hardware section and then open speakers, we can see that we have 3 different blocks. Speaker volume is pretty self-explanatory. This can control the volume of the speaker, and we use numbers between 0 and 1. So for instance, at half it would be 0.5. Okay, but let's have a look at the speaker beep frequency block first. So as we were talking about just now, the sound is simply frequency, vibration. This block specifically focuses on using different numbers to control those frequencies. So here we can change the number, and the higher the number, we get a higher note. The lower number, we get a lower note. And within our human hearing range, we can change those notes. If we start to get out of that range, then we're not going to be able to hear anything from the speaker. Over here, we have the duration of the note. Here it's set to 200 milliseconds. So if I wanted the note to play for a second, I could change it to 1000. Okay, now if we play that sound, we hear that it plays the note once. Okay, now to think about the comparison between frequency and notes, maybe some of you are musical and have used a piano before, perhaps a violin, and you're familiar with do, re, mi, or C, D, E. Well, these letters basically stand for all of those different frequencies of notes at different pitches. So here we can have a look at this chart that shows which notes relate to which different frequency. So if we look at middle A here, it's the same as 440, more or less. So if we then drag this play tone note in and set it to middle A, these will have the same sound. To test this, what we can do is to set both of these notes into a separate button. And then we can compare them by pressing a different button and listening to each of the sounds and seeing if they are the same. Also, 1 beat is a measure in musical notation that tells us how long that we should play the note for. Roughly, it should be similar to this amount of time during the duration, but this is largely dependent on the tempo of the song. Let's run this program and have a test. Okay, now we can hear that both of those notes are more or less the same note, or more or less the same pitch. But for instance, if you're not familiar with piano or other musical instruments, you might be wondering, what is low A? What is middle A? What is high? And with these little hash marks either. If we take a look at a piano, the middle note is middle C, also known as C4. From this note, we can go through C, D, E, F, G, A, B. This is one octave, and these are all the middle notes, we could say. Once we go beyond that, then you'll notice it repeats, goes through C, D, E, F, G, A, B again. But this is C5 this time. These are the higher notes. We might have many octaves on a piano, depending on how big it is. Alternatively, if we go below middle C, the number goes down again. This C over here, C3, would be called low C. So let's try and make a song. We could try this classic song. See if you can guess what it is. Okay, now let's see if we can code that song in UiFlow. We'll get rid of these buttons for now, and it'll be much easier for us to use the note blocks rather than the frequency blocks. We can start by dragging a note in, and then the first note we have is middle C. We can have a look at this piece of sheet music to see which notes we need. For the first section, we're going to need middle C, middle D, middle E, and then we'll go back to middle C. So we can duplicate 4 of these blocks and change the note inside. And then we can put them all together. You may have noticed that there's a lot of repetition in the song. These notes are repeated twice, and each phrase of the song is also repeated twice. In programming, we want to avoid repeating ourselves also, so we can use a different kind of loop. Let's have a look in the loop section. At the top, we have this block here, repeat 10 times, do whatever we put inside. So as each phrase in the song is repeated twice, we can enter the number 2 in here. And then we can drag these musical notes inside. Now, once we pop it up to the setup block, we can see that if we play it, it will run this melody twice. Okay. Now, we could either set a bigger loop if we wanted the song to loop over and over again, or we could leave this out. It's entirely up to you. Let's have a look at the rest of the code. So for the next phrase of the song, we need the notes E, F, and G. There'll be a slight pause before the second phrase of the song, so we can always add in a timer block. I'm going to set the timer block to a little shorter than we had last time. This one I'll set to 0.2 seconds. And then as it's repeated again, I'm going to add a repeat block in there. Again for 2 times. And I'll change these notes to middle E, middle F, and middle G. Let's follow along and have a look through this sheet music and try and complete this song by ourselves. you might need to change the beats of each of the notes according to the song. You can have a listen to the original recording of the song, which is known as Frere Jacques, and we can see by listening to the song how long each note should be. We might need to change the beats to a half note or a quarter note if it's shorter than the rest. Have a go and see if you can make the song by yourselves. We can find the M5Stack speaker on the left-hand side of the device. It's pretty loud, but we can control that speaker volume from the blocks. Try adjusting the volume level. We don't even need to do this song. We could program something completely different, whatever song you like. If you get stuck, if you had any problems programming this music, make sure you leave a comment or send us a message, and we'll see you in the next lesson.